This is a completely impromptu video. I have not posted to YouTube in the longest time. I have done no preparation for this, no planning. You know, I've not planned my hair or my lighting or anything like that. I literally decided to do this video 5 seconds ago. And I just thought I'd sit down in front of the camera and talk and tell you guys a little bit about what's been going on with me over the last, I don't know, year. I don't remember when I last posted. I've been a travel advisor for a year now, and it has been a very interesting journey. I started really slowly. It took me about 5 months or so to get my first client. The first few clients have been a trickle rather than a stream, but it has been good. I've spent time learning things, doing training programs, attending events, talking to people who are experienced in the industry, and just learning as much as I can about it. It has been phenomenal. Something that I do know is that I love the work. I absolutely love the work. And I think part of that is my specialty. I specialize in accessible travel. I have this belief that every single person deserves the opportunity to travel safely and with dignity, to explore the places they dream of going. So I've kind of made it a mission to make that happen for as many people as I can. I really do love to talk to my clients and hear their stories and find out what they dream of doing and where they dream of going. And you know, when they return from their trips, I love to hear what their experiences have been like. It's part of opening up the world to as many people as possible, and I find it meaningful and just so immensely rewarding. I get emotionally invested in all of the trips that I plan. I just want everything to go perfectly for my clients, and I derive so much joy in doing everything I can to make that happen. So am I glad I made this shift in career? Yes, I am. Business is picking up as my name gets out there, as I get a bit of a reputation for the work that I do. This is definitely a career that I am going to be able to sustain, and I'm so down for that. I just absolutely love it. Are there some things I find frustrating about this line of work? Yes, absolutely. And one of them is I call it discovery, but it's not really a discovery because it's something I always knew. But just how it is brought home to me regularly, how inaccessible a lot of places are to a lot of people. One frustration that I have, I just offer this as an example of what I'm saying. People who need accessible hotel rooms have an uphill battle getting accessible hotel rooms actually confirmed. So the hotels will, they'll say all of the right things. They'll say, well, we will prioritize this, or we will make a note on the file, or, we will strive to, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But when you actually ask them, can you guarantee at the time of booking, can you guarantee that this accessible room will be available? So many hotels will say, no, this is not something we can guarantee. It's going to be subject to availability. And to me, that is like booking a hotel room under the understanding that you may or may not have a toilet and a shower available to you when you get there. And who in their right minds would book a hotel room under that understanding? Why are we expecting people with disabilities to have to make that decision? Why are we saying to people with disabilities, hey, yeah, book this hotel room, maybe you'll have a toilet you can safely use, maybe you'll be able to use your shower, maybe you won't. I will say that some parts of the world are better than others when it comes to that. I have been working with a client on a Europe trip that involved several hotels, and every single one of those has had no problem in giving me that guarantee. But in a lot of other parts of the world, it has been a different story. I've had multiple conversations with hotel chains and individual properties, and I have fought tooth and nail only to be told that no, we are not going to guarantee this. It's going to be subject to availability. I don't think that should be allowed. It's a human rights issue for me, and I think it is something that so badly needs to be changed. In terms of my own personal travel, I've had some fairly interesting experiences over the last little while. My most recent trip to South Africa was a journey. It's always a journey, literally, but it was a metaphorical journey that took me down all kinds of very interesting tangents that I'd never been down before. I traveled with my mum to Mozambique from Johannesburg, and she was given wheelchair assistance, and it was absolutely fantastic. Huge shout out to OR Tambo Airport in Johannesburg, to Vilankulo Airport in Mozambique, to Airlink, the airline in South Africa that arranged for the assistance. Everyone was absolutely fantastic. My mom had assistance literally all the way to and from her seat in the planes, both going to Mozambique and flying back to Johannesburg. Everyone was so kind, everyone was accommodating. It couldn't have asked for a better experience. But then when we were in Mozambique, this was an experience. While we were in Mozambique, I had the unfortunate experience of having my cell phone and my laptop stolen from inside my room while I was inside said room asleep in the early hours of the morning. I assume it was the early hours of the morning. I have no idea when it actually happened because I didn't wake up. Someone came in through my bathroom window, came into my room, stole my stuff and left, and I never heard anything. The first I knew about this was when I woke up, reached to my bedside table to grab my phone to see what the time was, and my phone wasn't there. And even then, I didn't think much of it. I thought, maybe the phone has fallen to the floor, so I'm like hunting around on the floor looking for my phone. It's not there. And then I started to gaslight myself. I was thinking maybe I plugged it in somewhere to charge, even though I knew I hadn't. That was my thinking, like maybe I plugged it in. So then I'm going to look in every possible place where it could be plugged in. It's not there. And then I went back to look on the table where I was keeping the laptops and everything, and I saw this empty space on the table where my laptop should have been, and that's when I knew that, oh my gosh, my stuff has been stolen, I've been robbed, because I knew for a fact that I plugged my laptop in and left it on the table overnight. So that was a whole thing. We had to involve the police, had to get my devices replaced, had to reclaim my digital life, which was the biggest headache of all of this. Word to the wise, when you are setting up your accounts and your passwords and how you access your stuff, set up at least one authentication method that does not rely on you having access to your phone number for text messages. All of my logins were relying on text message verification codes. And that kind of bit me in the butt because when my phone was stolen, I didn't have access to the phone number, so I couldn't get my texts, and I had to go through an absolute process to get back into my stuff. And for some of it, I had to wait until I got back to Canada and got a replacement phone and had access to my phone number again so I could receive text messages again. So that was a thing that happened. That was not a lot of fun. Other than that, I had a really nice time in South Africa. It was really good to see my mom, good to see my brother, all of my loved ones there. For the longest time, I've kind of had this idea that, the biggest thing that happened on the trip was my stuff getting stolen, and like this is going to go down as the trip where I was robbed and I was kind of had my space violated while I was sleeping. And I'm trying to shift my mindset from that to, this was an opportunity for me to go away to this beautiful place with my mom and my brother. My older son was with me as well. It was absolutely fantastic. And I'm trying to focus on that part of the experience. The worst part of that whole experience is the knowledge that someone was in my space while I was sleeping. Not only did they come into my room, they had to come all the way under my mosquito net right beside my bed in order to access my phone. And that is something that gives me the absolute ick. It makes me feel so violated, and it makes me feel really anxious that someone was that close to me. And I generally tend to be quite a light sleeper, and someone was that close to me and I had no idea. I have been kind of hypervigilant ever since then. I'm still not right when it comes to my sleep. I get woken up by the slightest little thing. I wake up every couple of hours because my body just doesn't recognize sleep as a safe state anymore. I'm having to deal with this whole aftermath of being chronically exhausted because I cannot get a full night's sleep. I probably should see my doctor about this and get some actual help for it.
That's like your fourth cup of coffee.
Well, I'm drinking lots of cups of coffee because I'm exhausted.
Pivoting to a different subject, this is something that's been plaguing me especially over the last few days. We recently had that tragedy at LaGuardia Airport with the Air Canada flight that collided with an emergency vehicle and both pilots lost their lives. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about that. Some of them have been better than others. And the thing that has been bothering me is that some aviation YouTubers that I follow, that I have up until now had a great deal of respect for, have turned out to be really disappointing. They are, and I follow a lot of aviation YouTubers because I am an aviation geek. I would not claim in any way, shape, or form to be any kind of aviation expert. The only thing I know about planes is what I get from watching these YouTube videos, and I watch the videos because I am fascinated by them, and I love planes, and I love flying, and everything about aviation is just so appealing to me. So I seek out aviation YouTubers, pilots, aircraft mechanics, flight attendants, people who can give expert insights into various aspects of the world of aviation. And a lot of pilots in particular have been talking about that accident. Some of them have been fantastic, telling us the facts as they are known, not speculating, and being very clear about what it is that we don't know, and urging us to seek out and wait for official sources of information. But then there have been pilot YouTubers who I used to have very high regard for. I used to seek out their videos because they would answer questions or, give some insights into some aspect of aviation that I just didn't know anything about. Unfortunately, they are now using tragedies like the one at LaGuardia to generate money for themselves and to get views, to get more followers. And I'm seeing clickbait titles and opinions stated as facts that in some cases have turned out to be wrong. And it is disappointing to me. It is disappointing to me when somebody with so much to offer, with so much expertise and so much experience, kind of goes onto the dark side of content creation and does it for the sensationalism and the views rather than for the purposes of imparting accurate information. And I guess what I'm saying is that, we find these content creators that we look up to because they have that experience, because they have that expertise. And then something like this happens, they go down that darker side and they just kind of lose their luster for me. And it's like, I know I'm not explaining this very well. I think the best comparison I can come up with is, remember when you were in middle school and you had like a crush on someone and you thought this person was the best. You thought the sun, moon, and stars shone out of this person's eyes. And then something happens and you discover that that person is actually a bit of a dick. And you just have this disappointment that, this is not who I thought this person was. That is kind of how I'm feeling about some of these pilot YouTubers who are talking about these accidents and these disasters in this way. If you are an expert in any aspect of aviation, be it you're a pilot, you're a flight attendant, you're an aircraft mechanic, you work in air traffic control, if you are one of those people and you have been talking about these tragedies in a way that is informative but not inflammatory, in a way that you are making it clear what is known and what is not. And you are doing it for the purposes of just keeping us informed to the best of your ability. And you're not doing it in a way that is clickbaity and sensational. If you are one of those people, thank you for what you do. I am purely speaking from the point of view of a consumer of these videos, a consumer of this information. When people lose their lives, they deserve the respect of information being presented accurately. And if it cannot be presented accurately, they deserve the respect of everyone waiting until those answers are available. That was a lot of words. I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to get it off my chest. It is something that has been on my mind. So in terms of my own personal goals, I want to continue to grow my business as a travel advisor. I want to get better and better at it each day. I want to give as many people as possible the opportunity to see the places they want to see in a way that is safe for them, in a way that in which they have dignity, in a way that really makes them happy. I want people to be happy. I want people to travel. I want people to see the places they want to see. I still have my goal of climbing Kilimanjaro. That goal is still very much alive. I have had a couple of setbacks with some various things, but I am working on getting myself fit and healthy, just getting myself to a place where I can really start to build up to do that. So I'm going to be hopefully starting to post more content about that and go on some shorter hikes, climb some mountains. Kilimanjaro cannot be my first mountain. I think that would be unwise. I've never climbed a mountain in my life. That's a lie. I climbed Table Mountain years ago. But I want to climb some mountains, get to Kilimanjaro and have this absolutely amazing experience. And I want to document as much of that journey as possible. I am trying to build up my presence on social media. I've been over on TikTok a lot. That's where most of my content is. I will put a link to that in the description of this video. But I also want to start posting here on YouTube again a little bit more regularly than I have been. I guess making better videos would be a start to that. I recognize that this video has probably not been my finest work. This video, like I said, completely impromptu. And I want to travel. I want to visit places, find out how accessible they are, and see what could possibly be improved. And, I just want to travel. At the root of it, pretty much everything that I do, everything that I've been speaking about is rooted in a love of travel, and I just want to do more of it. So that is the end of my rambling. If you are still here, if you have watched through this entire video, thank you. And I will see you again soon. Okay, bye.